All praise belongs to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad, his pure household, Ahlul Bayt, and his noble companions. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you. Welcome. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said the biggest struggle is one against the nafs, our own self. This truth became very real to me, as I watched many people sacrifice so much when they become Muslims or start practicing the religion seriously. Islam isn't just a set of beliefs, it's a complete way of life. When someone embraces it fully, it directly affects their daily life and social circles. Often they find themselves losing interest in activities that once created bonds with their friends. I was born Muslim, and most of my friends were Muslims too, but we weren't practicing. When I was 15 years old, I started taking my religion seriously. Slowly, I noticed I lost interest in many things I used to do with my friends. We gradually drifted apart. During this time, I started reading the biography of the Prophet, peace be upon him. I was fascinated by how he and his companions struggled to spread the religion. It felt as if I was living with them in their time. In my isolation, I often remembered two childhood friends. One was Muhammad, who used to ask me to go to the mosque with him. Whenever I walked to the mosque alone, I would remember him and ask Allah to grant me friends like him. The other friend was Bashir. We went to the same Islamic school in Kenya. One day, I found him listening to a Muslim preacher speaking Swahili on the street. I was amazed and asked him when his Swahili had improved enough to understand the preacher. His answer surprised me. He said he didn't understand a word. When I asked why he was listening, he said, "The man is preaching Islam and people aren't listening to him. I wanted to accompany him so he doesn't become disheartened." At the time, I thought he was crazy. Years later, when I had become more practicing, I found myself doing something similar. I was at the mosque for Asr prayer with about 20 people. After the prayer, the Imam announced a guest scholar would give a lecture in Arabic. Most people left, but I felt compelled to stay and accompany the scholar since he was from another country. In that moment, I remembered Bashir. I realized I was walking the same path as my old religious friends, though they weren't there anymore. I prayed to Allah countless times to grant me friends like Muhammad and Bashir. One day, I made a special prayer. "Oh Allah, I know how important it is to sacrifice for your sake, but I'm young. I used to have many friends, and now we've grown apart because I'm trying to please you. I cannot hide this feeling of isolation from you, so please help me and grant me good friends who share my religious interests." Then Allah blessed me with an amazing dream. In it, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Ali ibn Abi Talib were with me and other Muslim men. We were sitting in a circle, listening to the Prophet, when we heard an enemy attack outside. The Prophet divided us into two groups to use the two main gates of the house. I was in Ali's group, but the Prophet called me over saying, "Hamid, come here." Then he put his blessed arm on my shoulder, grabbed his other hand on my other shoulder, and pulled me close, hugging me, and smiled. I looked up and our eyes met. Subhanallah. I couldn't handle the eye contact, felt shy and looked down. Then he laughed and said, "Know this, Hamid, you are my friend, you are my friend, you are my friend," while smiling. I was so happy and overwhelmed I couldn't say anything except to nod my head, as if saying thank you and "I will remember it, Ya Rasulullah." I had always felt a bit jealous of the prophets and their companions. I wanted a higher spiritual status with Allah. When I discovered the concept of the friends of Allah, how they are granted paradise and are closer to Allah, I wondered, since the Prophet chose me as his friend in the dream, did that mean I was officially a friend of Allah? I asked a Muslim expert in dream interpretation. She answered with a verse from Surah Maida. "Your only friend is Allah, his messenger, and those who believe, those who establish the prayer, give obligatory charity, and they are those who bow down." At first, I didn't understand the verse well. Years later, I watched a video of Mufti Menk explaining its context. The verse was revealed about a companion who converted from Judaism to Islam in Medina. When his people excommunicated him and he felt isolated, Allah revealed this verse. The Prophet asked if anyone had given charity that day. A beggar who was present said that he had received a ring as charity from someone who was bowing in prayer. When asked who had given it to him, he pointed to Ali. Then the Prophet told the lonely companion, "Your friends are Allah, his messenger, the believers, and Ali." Subhanallah. This was the perfect verse to interpret my dream. The Prophet was there, the believers were there, and Ali was there, just like in the verse. So my dear brothers and sisters, whether you are new to the religion or have just started practicing seriously, I want to give you glad tidings. If you feel isolated because of your faith, know that you are in the company of the best friends anyone could have. Allah, His Messenger, the true believers, and Imam Ali.